You're watching the Brother Henry and You Show.
Engaging. Informative. Inspirational.
Enjoy today's program.
Well, hello everyone. Let me start out with asking you this question. It may be a challenging question for many of you. And let me see what your honest answer would be. How many of you today, if I were to ask you, how many of you struggle with procrastination? I'll give you a second. I hope that was plenty of time to think about the question I had asked you. Now, if you were honest, you would say, yes, Henry, I am one that struggle with procrastination. Well, if you are that person that loves to put things off, I'll do it later, you always find yourself in delay mode, I am here to push you into your purpose. Isn't that amazing to have somebody in your life that enforces and push you into your purpose rather than further away from it? I think it does. Well, let me first of all begin by telling you that I struggle with procrastination. I believe many of us do in various areas in our lives. So for the next 4 weeks, I'll be coming to you with a series called Procrastination. In today's subject, we're going to talk about I'll do it later. How often have we said that? How often that we've set our hearts to do a certain task and we say I'll do it later, but in reality that later we never really get to the task that we say we want to do. I'm here to encourage you, and I believe that by the end of this series you will be blessed. So let me ask you this question. Are you a procrastinator? I asked you earlier if you struggle with procrastination. Here goes the next question. Are you a procrastinator? Well, some people may say, well, I don't even know what that means. So let me explain what procrastinator means. Maybe we should define the word procrastination. That way, many of you that are watching, you may have a clearer understanding of what procrastination is. Procrastination is the action of delaying or postponing something. I said this earlier. It's when you set your heart to do something, but you really never get around to it. And many times that's just because sometimes we just don't want to. Maybe we have a heart where, we'll set a task to do something. You say, well, I'm going to do it, but we forget to get back to that. And sometimes people just forget on purpose because they never want to finish what they have started. So it's an action of delaying something. You're always in delay mode. You're always postponing. You never follow through. And again, this is not to bring anybody down. I struggle with this myself. We all do. So some may suggest that being a procrastinator makes you a bad person. And I want you to know today that it does not make you a bad person to procrastinate. This is not a true statement. So when people come to you and say, you're a procrastinator, you're always late, it makes you a bad person. Now, it ain't wise to always postpone things, but do you not have a right to do that? You do. If you don't feel like doing it, do you have a right to say, I don't feel like doing it? You do. When you get to those points where you just want to delay it and just don't want to follow through, hey, you're your own person. That's one thing about life, that you control your life and you control how your life operates. And at the end of the day, nobody can really control that. But I disagree with the statement that people try to affiliate being a bad person with being a procrastinator, because you procrastinate doesn't mean that you are a bad person. I think it's wisdom to show up to work on time. I think it's wisdom not to postpone things that's of relevance or of importance. I think wisdom has to be applied in some of these areas. So I believe we all have procrastinated about something at one time or another. In some instances, many of us do it every single day. And you may be aware of it, and you may be watching it, you may be saying, I'm not aware of it. But if you really think about it, all of us procrastinate about something every single day. How often have you said, how often have I said, I'll put that application in later? Me, you probably want employment, want a job. I'll put it in later. How many of us have said, I'm going to do laundry later? Never gets done. It sits there. I'm going to do dishes later. The key word is later. That's the name of our subject. I'll do it later. I'll do dishes later. I'll do laundry later. I'll get serious about my eating habits later. Some of us don't like the way we look. We don't like our weight. There's a lot of things we don't like about ourselves. So we get positive and we say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to set my mind to it. I'm going to eat right. But we never get there. But we always say, I'm going to do it. What? Later. I'll start saving money later. Maybe you want a newer car or a nicer home. Maybe there's a project you want to do and it's going to require some expenses. You say, I'm going to work much harder. I'm going to get to that later, but we never get to it. I'll finish my homework later, you college students. I'll pursue my career later. Now, many people have developed what I call a later syndrome. Do you have a later syndrome? You never do things in the now. You always do them later. It's almost like everything in life evolves around what we will do later and not what we will do now. And one thing I don't like about myself, I don't like starting a project or starting a task or starting on something and saying I will do it later. Because I know in my mind when I say I will do it later, sometimes I'll get to that and sometimes I won't. Sometimes I will start stuff and sometimes I won't finish it. I've done that several times. I'm not here to tell you that that's going to stop anytime soon. Because I struggle with procrastination. We all do. How many of you watching right now have said, I'm going to start doing this? And you're excited, you're enthusiastic, you got people pushing you. Go for it. Yes. And then when it comes to actually doing it, putting your action to it, you never get around to it. So we have become experts in postponing things. I don't want to become an expert in postponing things. I never want to be I don't want to be defined as never following through with the things that I want to do and accomplish in life. So don't misunderstand me. There are those who do say I'll do it later, and they do follow through with that commitment. But there are others who say that, but it never, ever happens. Often wonder why. Do you ask yourself why? Often wonder why. Why is there a delay? Do we really want to do it or not? This is not a message of guilt, shame, condemnation, but a message that gives you a push. I said this earlier. Sometimes people, you just got to be an enforcer. You got to push them. It's not that they don't want to do it. They just need somebody to push them into their purpose. Some people need that push. I need that push often in my life today. Maybe this message I'm giving you now is a push for many of you to, instead of delaying it, putting it off, postponing, doing it later, maybe some of you just need that push right now to just go ahead and do what you want to do and accomplish those things where you may find yourself successful. So ask yourself, how often do I set my mind to something and never do it? How often do I do that? Self-motivation is not telling yourself over and over that you're going to do it, but it's also aiming and going for what you say you're going to do. That's what self-motivation is. It's not looking at a thing and saying, I'm going to do that. I want to be that. I want to accomplish that. Self-motivation is looking at that and you aiming towards it. You want to go forward. That's what self-motivation is. It's okay to create a plan or a strategy. It's okay to implement that. And it's okay to see so much productivity ahead. But all you have to do is start. Who am I talking to today? That's all you have to do is start. Create a plan. Create a strategy in your mind. This is what I want to do. I'm going to start not later. I'm going to start right now. So what causes one to procrastinate? There are a variety of things, but I'll give a few. Number one, fear of failure is a thing that causes many to procrastinate. They'll start on something and they won't finish it because they see themselves not succeeding in the things that they have started. So they see themselves as a failure, and they also see the thing that they're doing as a failure. So therefore they will not finish what they have started. Number two, low self-esteem. Number three, no motivation or support system. And that's the most devastating thing to start something and you don't got nobody behind you to back you up. You got nobody behind you to say, hey, I'm here for you. I'm pushing you. They have no support system. They're their own motivation. They're their own encouragers. So I totally get it. Starting anything can be the most difficult task ever. Even the creative thoughts that we have, they sound good, but we keep delaying it. How many of you got these creative thoughts? I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to do this. I want to be a judge. We got these amazing thoughts. I want to be a fireman. We want to do all these great things, but we never really set out to do it. So I believe that there is a way to overcome procrastination. Doesn't mean that we won't continue to struggle with it. I think in some ways we can overcome it. It starts by, number one, sharing your feelings with someone. If you find yourself procrastinating over and over about something, sometimes it's important to sit down with someone and say, you know what? I want to share my feelings with you. This is why I procrastinate. This is why I never follow through. This is why I always say I'll do it later and never get to it. Sharing your feelings with someone is one of the most greatest feelings you can ever have. Second thing we can do is identify those weaknesses that could be interfering with you going forward. What are those weaknesses in your life that's interfering with your ability to push or to go forward or to accomplish that you want to accomplish? Number three, do you start something but never finish it? This is another way of overcoming procrastination, by asking yourself that question. Do you have a history of starting something but never following through, but never finishing it? Number four, who are you listening to? This is very important. Who are you listening to? Because let me tell you something. We're going to talk about this here probably the next day, and we're going to talk about this probably the next week or so. Our ear gates. Who are we allowing to enter our ears? What words are they speaking into our lives? Because words have influence. And sometimes what we're listening to and who we are listening to can keep us in this world of procrastination. Number five, don't try to do everything all at once. This is, oh my Lord, I've been there a time or two in my life. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And there's nothing wrong with setting goals, saying I want to do all these things, but find out what you're most passionate about. What do you, out of all these things you have written down, your plan, all these things you have written down, look at it and say, okay, what do I want to be? And focus on that one thing. You don't have to try to do everything. Just find that thing that you find yourself most passionate about. What gets you to push, what gets you to drive, what wakes you up in the morning. Find that thing and work on it and do it. So instead of doing it later, motivate yourself to push, engage, and reach for your dreams. I'm here to tell you today that you can do it. Don't become a master in delaying them. That could make you potentially successful. Take it one day at a time. It's not going to be easy. And I'm here today to tell you it's not going to be easy, but at least you started. Give yourself today that much credit. At least you started. You weren't one, I'll do it later, I'll put it off. No, you started. I started. Give yourself a pat on the back. And not only you started, you will finish. Join me next week as we go into part 2 of our series, Procrastination. We're going to talk about the wall that stands between the mind and the heart. You do not want to miss it.
Hi, my name's Heather. Thank you for watching the Brother Henry and You Show today. If you've enjoyed the show today, visit us at facebook.com/The Brother Henry and You Show. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day.